So when you hear the word change, how does your mind or your body react? Is your instinct to push it away for fear of the unknown? Or do you embrace the concept with open arms and curiosity for what is yet to come? Let's face it, change is inevitable. It's an inevitable part of life, so there's no making it go away. Now, we can learn to stop being controlled by change and to learn to strategically navigate the waves of the unknown instead. Now, in this webinar, I'm not going to be talking to you about your organization, nor about the world around you, but this talk is about you and how you may interact with the world around you and how you may respond to the changes that affect you and the world around you. Now, as individuals, we view the world through a set of filters based on our experiences, our values, our assumptions. Now, those filters are either going to limit what we see, a little bit like tunnel vision, or expand what we see like a prism. And that's going to impact how we perceive and what we think about our circumstances. Now, that in turn impacts how we show up in different situations. Now, through our whole lives, we've unconsciously developed filters, which could be holding us back from being able to see our full potential within ourselves and also what our life and our careers have to offer us. Now, in the 5 proven ways to confidently overcome change and uncertainty, I'm going to reveal what those 5 specific filters are that we might have developed and how those filters are influencing the results that you are achieving, and how with a slight adjustment, we're going to be able to see, or you are going to be able to see, all the different possibilities available to you. Now, that in turn is going to help with self-leadership, as well as developing management awareness, effectiveness, and corporate cohesion. Just think, what would be possible if you weren't weighed down with self-doubt, indecision, or judgments when facing change and uncertainty, but you were able to widen up that lens and see the much bigger picture, giving you that freedom of choice so that you can show up with confidence and resilience even during times of stress and uncertainty. So join me to learn how you can thrive through the unexpected rather than simply surviving it. So thank you very much, Fisher, for inviting me to speak really on a subject that I find fascinating, which is the 5 proven ways to confidently overcome change and uncertainty. Now, I'm not going to speak to you about your organization, nor about the world around us. But this talk is about you and how you may interact with your organization and how you may respond to the changes that affect you and the world around you.
首先呢，特别感谢邀请我为大家讲述一个我认为非常有趣的话题，就是自信掌控变化和不确定性的5种方法。那今天呢，我不打算谈论你的组织，也不打算讨论你周围的世界，这只是一次关于你自身的谈话，关于你如何与你的组织互动，以及你如何应对影响你和你周围世界的变化。
So my intention is to stimulate ideas, to really think, well, to help you think about how you react to change, especially perhaps change that you don't like very much, and how you could view things differently and more positively when faced with change and uncertainty.
我的目的呢是启迪大家的思考，就帮助你思考如何应对变化，特别是当你面对那些你不喜欢变化的时候该如何面对，以及当你面对变化跟不确定性时，我们能否说换一种角度去更积极地看待问题。
So I'm a leadership coach and also corporate trainer, really helping people bridge the success gap with more ease and less stress. Now, this talk uses a framework called energy leadership and the 7 levels of energy. And this was developed following a 10-year research study by a man called Bruce D. Schneider. Now, essentially, you can think of these 7 levels as 7 possible reactions to change, or 7 different ways of approaching work or life in general. Now, in this talk today, I'm only going to be covering 5 of the 7 levels.
我是一名领导力教练和企业培训师。我平时的工作就是帮助人们更轻松，以更少的压力去弥合与成功的差距。那今天呢，我会用到智能领导力框架跟7个能量层级。这个框架呢，它是布鲁斯施耐德他10年研究的成果。那基本上我们可以把这7个能量层级就看作当你面对变化时你所产生的7种反应，或者说7种你在面对工作和生活时你所处理的不同方式。那今天我将会介绍这7个能量层级当中的5个能量层级。
So managing or confronting change successfully, especially change that we don't necessarily want, requires you, first of all, to reflect on how you currently deal with change, or perhaps what you perceive as adversity. Because remember, we don't want to be controlled by change, but to be able to navigate it successfully. And that sort of self-reflection is not easy in any way. And as Groucho Marx said, looking at yourself in the honesty mirror requires courage, because it can be quite an unpleasant experience.
成功的管理或面对变化，特别是那些你不想要面对的变化。那首先呢，你需要去对自己目前处理变化，以及包括你面对的逆境，你的处理方式，你要对你的处理方式进行反思。但要记住，你不想被变化控制，而是只是想去成功的驾驭变化。那但这种反思呢，确实也并不容易。就像格劳乔·马克思说的，就面对诚实的镜子审视自己是需要勇气的，因为这可能是一段并不愉快的经历。
Now, in addition to having courage to examine yourself now, it doesn't necessarily provide you with the answers about how you'd like to face the challenges of the future. So crucially, therefore, we need to have belief, a belief that we can adapt ourselves to change in a way that's positive for us and also potentially makes us more effective at whatever we're doing.
就像我们当下有勇气审视自己，但你也不一定能知道你如何能够去面对未来的挑战。那所以至关重要的一点呢，就是我们一定要有一种信念，去相信我们可以积极的应对变化，可以相信我们有这样的潜力，可以更高效的做任何事情。
Now we can all adapt, but it takes not just courage to recognize that we might need to, but also confidence to believe that it's possible. And it is possible for all of us. And it's really these levels of energy that act as a framework to really help us understand where we are on a sort of ladder and what the next rung might be.
我们都能够适应变化，但这个不仅需要勇气来让我们认识到我们需要去适应这个变化，还需要信心去相信我们可以做到，就我们所有人都可以。那能量层级框架呢，它可以帮助我们知道我们正处在这个阶梯上的哪一个位置，以及下一个阶梯我们可能面对的是什么。
Now, as I go through this talk, I hope that you're going to be able to recognize yourself and your levels that you experience, and also those of the different people around you. Now, that's going to help you relate to them differently or better, or perhaps suggest ways to encourage them to do things differently or better.
在我演讲的过程当中呢，我希望大家能够意识到你自己和你周围的人，你们所处的能量层级，这可能会帮到你，就是换一种方式，更好的与别人相处，或者知道怎样去鼓励别人换一种方式，更积极的做事。
Now, about 250 years ago, Benjamin Franklin said that change is the only constant in life, and one's ability to adapt to those changes will determine your success in life. Well, that is still true today. So if change is the only constant, then why are we so suspicious of it? Why do we resist it? Now, there are 3 common reasons for this.
大概在250年前，本杰明·富兰克林曾说过，变化是生活中唯一不变的东西。就一个人适应变化的能力，将决定他一生的成功。直到今天，这句话依然适用。既然变化是唯一不变的东西，我们为什么还会怀疑它？为什么还会迟疑、会抗拒？主要有3个常见的原因。
So we often focus on what we've got to give up rather than what we have to gain. We can experience this loss of control, which really stems from this reluctance to learn new things, perfectionism, and that fear of making mistakes. And we all have this survival instinct that spots potential dangers, and uncertainty triggers that instinct. And so it's really for these reasons that we tend to stay in our comfort zone, sort of far away from uncertainty. And yet familiar things are not necessarily good or even optimal.
第一个原因就是我们往往就是太在意我们必须要舍弃了什么，而不是想想我们能获得什么。第二个呢，是因为可能我们不太愿意重新去学习，又因为我们有就是完美主义的性格，然后又或者是害怕犯错，所以在面对变化的时候呢，我们往往又会有一种失控感。第3点呢，是因为我们每个人都有发现潜在危险的本能，那不确定性呢会触发这种本能。正是因为这几个原因，所以让我们更想待在自己的舒适区，远离不确定。但是那些你能够驾轻就熟的一些选择、一些事情，它未必就是好的或者最优的选择。
Now, we can't always choose our life circumstances, but we can choose how we respond to them. And change in life often comes uninvited. So we need to swap fear for curiosity. So swap fear for curiosity and have the willingness to ask ourselves, what does this change really consist of? And that might there be another way to view the situation?
有时候我们无法选择自己的生活境遇，但是我们可以选择如何去应对。就生活中的变化，它往往都是不请自来的。我们需要把恐惧转换成好奇心，然后去问自己，变化的它到底是什么？我们是否可以换一种方式去来看待这个问题？
Now, whilst we're not able to influence what's happening around us, we can learn to control what's happening inside of us. So we all need to summon the courage and the confidence to look at our change of circumstances dispassionately and to have the understanding of who we each are and to garner the confidence to see how we can navigate the change successfully. Now, do these things and we can build resilience in ourselves, and we can all do it.
虽然我们可能无法影响就我们周围发生的事情，但是我们可以学会控制自己内心的想法。我们都需要鼓起勇气和信心，然后冷静地看待环境的变化，就知道我们是谁，然后充满自信地去分析我们如何能够成功地驾驭变化。那这样做的话，也可以建立我们的复原力。
Now, that brings me back to the core of today's presentation, which Bruce D. Schneider refers to as energy leadership, which is really shorthand for determining your overall potential and satisfaction in life. Now, he really defines energy as a compilation of your attitudes, your perceptions, and your beliefs that come through in your thoughts, your feelings and actions. And when you're able to shift these attitudes, perceptions and beliefs, then your entire perception of reality changes.
那现在回到我们今天要讲的重点，就是施耐德的智能领导力框架。那这个框架它可以帮助我们确定我们的整体潜力以及对生活的满意度。那它将能量定义为你的态度、感知和信念的结合。那这个能量呢，它是贯穿于你的想法、感受和行动中的。当你 转变或者改变你的态度、感知和信念时，你对现实的整个认知也会发生改变。
Now, research shows that people are higher up this energy scale, and those with that ability to be able to shift their level have greater overall life satisfaction. And that can affect things like financial success, communication, health and wellness, relationships, time management, work-life balance, and so on.
研究表明，能量层级越高的人，以及有能力改变自己能量层级的人，他们的总体生活满意度是更高的。那这呢，也能影响到你在财务方面取得的成功，包括你的沟通、健康、人际关系、时间管理以及工作和生活上的平衡等等。
So now for the sciencey bit. So there are two types of energy: catabolic, which is destructive and draining, and anabolic, which is constructive and healing. And yes, these words really do exist.
那么现在看点科学的知识。就能量呢，它有两种类型。第一种呢是叫做分解代谢能量，这种能量它是具有破坏性跟消耗性的。那第二种是合成代谢能量，这种能量它是建设性的，而且是可以有愈合作用的。是的，这两个词确实是存在的，分解代谢能量和合成代谢能量。
So catabolic energy. So whilst this energy can really give us this sort of energetic boost to combat what we perceive to be a stressful situation, it can also be quite distracting and drain us and really blind us to the potential of the situation. Now, that's going to reduce your choices and also your confidence. Now, this type of energy releases catabolic hormones into the system, like cortisol and adrenaline. Now, useful in the short term in order to get things done. So it's a type of panic mode, if you like, but can be quite harmful on the body over extended periods of time.
分解代谢能量呢，它能帮助提升能量，然后让我们对抗压力。但是它不好的地方也在于，它可能会分散你的注意力，可能让你看不见事情的潜力。这也可能让就我们的选择范围缩小，会让我们的自信心受挫。那这种能量它会在体内释放出分解代谢激素，比如肾上腺素和皮质醇。这种能量它可以在短期内帮我们完成任务，可以用来应急，但是如果长期这么一直存在这种能量的话，其实也会带来坏处。
Now, anabolic energy. So this is the energy that's behind everything from creativity to intuition to compassion and care. So anabolic energy is going to fuel your body, your perceptions, your interactions. So really helping you move forwards and achieve powerful and sustainable results. Now, this type of energy releases anabolic hormones into the body, such as endorphins and dopamine. Now, both energies serve a purpose, and neither is good nor bad. Both energies serve a purpose, and neither is good nor bad. So if I was to ask you who wants more energy, you might say yes, but only the anabolic type. But just be warned, both can be useful.
合成代谢能量它对应的呢是创造力、直觉、同情和关怀。合成代谢能量它能为你的身体感知和互动带去能量，然后帮助你向前迈进，然后达成强有力可持续的结果。这种能量它会在体内释放合成代谢激素，比如内啡肽和多巴胺。这两种能量对我们其实都是有帮助的，但也不是绝对的好或绝对的不好。
So let's talk about leadership. So our world tends to define leaders and therefore leadership within the context of quite formally defined roles within organizations. But, or however, true leaders, they're not confined to office walls, and they're not limited to specific roles or positions within those walls, but they're found in families, in groups, in sports, in education, and lots of other places.
现在让我们来谈一谈领导力。就我们在提到领导者或者领导力的时候，就往往会在给他定义的时候，会把就情境局限在可能一个组织内一个正式任命的角色，但真正的领导者他并不局限在办公室的墙内，也不局限在就办公室里的特定职位，它也存在于家庭、团体、运动、教育和许多其他的场所。
Every interaction with people presents an opportunity to lead and have a positive impact on others. Now, also keep in mind that leadership includes self-leadership. So that's really that ability to motivate yourself to do what needs to get done.
当你每一次与别人互动的时候呢，都是你领导和对他人产生积极影响的机会。记住，领导力它还包括自我领导力，就是你能够激励自己去做你需要做的事情的能力。
So let's turn to the energy leadership framework. Now, the lower levels, level 1 of the victim and level 2 of the fighter, they're tied to catabolic energy. So that's that energy that's draining, that's stressful. And the higher levels of 3 to 7, they're associated with the anabolic energies, which is that energy that's uplifting and leads to sustainable action and results. Now, know that we have all these energies within us, but some of us experience more of a certain level over another.
现在来看这个智能领导力框架，在较低的能量层级，就是第一层级受害者能量和第二层级好斗者能量。这两个能量层级呢，它跟分解代谢能量有关。就分解代谢能量，它会耗费我们的精力，然后让你产生压力。较高的能量层级呢，就是第3层到第5层。这3层主要与合成代谢能量有关。这种能量呢，它能够让你感到兴奋，然后振奋人心，然后从而促成可持续的行动和结果。就在我们体内，我们所有人的体内呢，都存在着这些能量层级，但我们可能在某一个层级上的能量会高于其他层级上的能量。
Now, before we get into the levels, I wanted to show you how our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions are inherently linked. So first of all, everything starts with a thought, and our thoughts create an emotion in terms of how we see the world around us. And that in turn, that emotion influences our behavior and our actions. And finally, this journey really drives an end result.
在了解这些层级之前呢，我想大家来先看一下这个我们的想法，就是感受、情绪还有跟行动是如何内在相连的。那首先呢，就是所有的事情它都是从一个我们的想法开始的，然后这个想法呢，它又会引发一种我们的情绪，这种情绪呢，它又会影响着我们的行为跟行动，然后最终呢，促成了一个最终的结果。
Now, even if this takes place in a matter of seconds, when you understand how everything is linked, you're going to have more control and choice over how you act. And what's just about to follow is going to give you much greater awareness of this.
哪怕这一切呢，它只发生在几秒钟之内，但是当你了解这一切它是如何紧密相关的，你会对你的行动呢有更多的掌控感，然后同时呢，你会有更多的选择，有更强的自我意识。
So let's get into the level. So level 1, this is Mr. or Mrs. Doom and Gloom, the victim, powerlessness. So this is the lowest level of energy. It's the should person, where you might hear phrases such as, oh, I have no choice, Why does this always happen to me? There's nothing that I can do about it. So does any of that sound familiar? So it's really that person who lacks enthusiasm and is often just overwhelmed.
那第一层级呢，主要是比如说厄运跟忧郁先生，这种人呢，往往会感觉到自己是受害者，而且充满了无力感。这个层级它是最低的能量层级，而拥有这一层级的人，他说话的时候呢，会经常的可能会用到应该这个词，你可能会听到他们说啊，我没有别的选择，为什么这种事总是发生在我的身上？哎，我实在没有办法了。你听着是不是很耳熟呢？这些话，因为这类人呢，往往他是缺乏热情的，很容易被压倒。
So if you've got energy at this level, you feel powerless, really at the mercy of events, of thoughts, of beliefs, of emotions and perceptions that are going to hold you back from success. So level 1 energy includes thoughts and feelings of apathy, of guilt, of fear, of worry, self-doubt, and low self-esteem. Now that can be in general or just in certain parts of your life.
如果你拥有这能量层级的能量的话，你会常常会有一种无力感，就会任凭就事件、想法、信念、情绪和观念摆布，就让会阻碍你成功的脚步。那这一层级能量呢，它会包括冷漠、内疚、恐惧、担忧、自我怀疑，还有感觉低自尊的一些想法和感受。这种能量它可能是普遍的，也有可能是你在生活中遇到某一件事情的时候可能会产生这种能量。
Now, when operating from a level 1 perspective, people really feel like they've got this lack of choice, this lack of options, often living in the past, replaying events in their minds without ever coming to a conclusion, but just wishing things were different. Now, at level 1, individuals feel trapped by their circumstances, and they see things as being done to them.
处在第一层级的人，他们往往会觉得好像事件啊或者人生啊没有选择或者选项，他们常常会活在过去，然后在他的脑海里可能会反复的上演一些过去的事情，而且往往也理不出头绪。那只是单纯的好像在等待着，好像这些事情会有什么不同。那在这个层级呢，我们就是往往经常会被一些事件或者情况困扰，然后往往觉得自己是受害者。
Now, level 1 energy can result in avoidance, so avoidance of situations or difficult issues, and people can really have troubles making decisions. Now, you're going to feel powerless when you experience this level, and it's going to make changing your reality really quite difficult. Now, emotionally, level 1 energy feels bad, and the amount of desire or engagement and action for life or specific aspects of it is going to be pretty low, which is going to lead to decreased confidence in your abilities to initiate change, let alone really navigate positively what's in front of you. Now, we all experience level 1 energy at times and in certain aspects of our lives. So it is normal. Normal, however, doesn't necessarily mean desirable.
第一层级的能量呢，当你处在这个层级的时候，会让你选择逃避，会逃避这些事情或者难题，也让你无法去做决定，会感到就是无力改变现状。那从情绪上来讲呢，第一层级能量会让人感觉很糟糕，对生活或者生活的某个方面的渴望、投入和行动度都很低，他没有自信去改变，就更不用说积极的去面对眼前的事情。我们每个人都会在生活的某些方面感受到第一层级的能量，所以有第一层级的能量它是正常的，但是呢，正常并不意味着值得。
So this is a question for the chat. Who here has ever used the word should? I really should go to the gym. Or I should call my mother-in-law. Or maybe use the words if only. If only I'd gotten that promotion, if only life was different. So just comment yes in the comment box if that sounds at all familiar. I know for me it does. I'll admit to that.
现在呢，一个问题留给大家，就是大家是否曾经经常用过"应该"这个词？就是像这样的情境啊，我真应该去一趟健身房，哎，我真应该给我的岳母或者给我的哪位长辈家人打电话，或者你可能也用过"如果怎么样就好了"这样的词，比如说，如果我升职就好了，如果生活也不一样就好了。如果这些话让你觉得耳熟的话，你请在那个聊天框里打出 yes。
Great, well, thank you. I'm getting some support. Thank you, Ferry, Catherine, Michelle. So it is something that's familiar. We all experience it at certain points in our lives. So the question for level 1 is, what would you be able to accomplish if you didn't spend so much time in level 1? You don't need to answer the question, but sorry, Icy, go for it.
就是感谢各位的支持，也就像大家看到的一样，就是我们很多人都会遇到这样的情境，在某时某刻都会经历着这种低层级的能量。那么对于低层级能量呢，我会就是有一个问题大家可以思考，就如果你没有花那么多时间停留在这低层级上，那么你又能完成什么，去实现什么？
Thank you. So let's get into level 2. So level 2 is that Mr. or Mrs. I'm gonna get this or else, Mr. Angry or Mrs. Angry, the fighter. So level 2 is by far the easiest energy to identify in other people because it's the most fiery of the levels.
现在呢，看第二层级。第二层级呢，这些人往往他会经常觉得我一定要得到这个，我一定要拿下这个。这些人的情绪呢，往往是愤怒的，而且人呢，往往是好斗的。第二层级能量是我们最容易从他人身上识别的，因为这一层它的表现就是最猛、最直接。
Now it's characterized by conflict with the core emotion of anger. And this energy really contains thinking of antagonism, struggle, resistance, frustration, defiance. Now, when you experience level 2 energy, you might catch yourself or other people saying things like, it's not my fault, it's yours. If you want something done right, I just have to do it myself. Or nobody meets my expectations.
那第二层级能量呢，它对应的是冲突，而且核心程序呢是愤怒。这种能量它会包含一些对立、斗争、抵抗、挫折和蔑视的想法。就当你经历第二层级能量的时候，你会发现自己或者别人会说，这不是我的错，这是你的错。就如果我一定要把这件事做好的话，那我要自己去做，我不要你做，因为你可能达不到我的期望。
So if you know your Disneys, I tend to think of Scar from Lion King or Jafar from Aladdin. They're good representations of people experiencing level 2 energy.
如果大家看过迪士尼的电影，像《狮子王》里的刀疤，或者是《阿拉丁》里的甲方，这两个人物呢，他们都非常典型的诠释了这个第二层级能量。
Remember too that people can be angry and not show it. So it could be that they lead from this quiet anger, but it might be that they hold on to resentments or this resistance that's underneath that isn't quite so obvious. Now, from a level 2 perspective, everything tends to be viewed as black or white, right or wrong, good or bad. And these judgments are going to really limit options because the full scope of available possibilities is just not apparent to the person operating with level 2 energy.
同时我们就是也要注意一下，就是有的人他生气的时候，他并不会表现出来，他可能就是平静的愤怒，他可能将怨恨或者抵抗，他就藏在心里，表现的不那么明显。那拥有这一层级的人呢，他往往就是看待事情会就非黑即白，非对即错，非好即坏。那这种判断它会限制 选择的范围，因为这样的话，你往往会看不到事情全部的可能性。
Many leaders, this shocks people, but many leaders have or experience level 2 energy, and they can consequently be unhappy and often also unhealthy. They can manage by force or control through micromanaging, and they can really get caught up on focusing on what's wrong, what's broken, and potentially who or what is to blame. So whilst initial results can look good, absolutely, but this way of leading others and organizations will ultimately fail, because the effort truly expended to live and to act with this constant catabolic energy, sort of muscling your way through, really through to victory using force or conflict, is going to drain you and also those around you.
许多领导者都有这个第二层级的能量，他会感到不快乐，甚至会影响到健康。他们经常会用强制的手段，然后进行管理，然后又通过微观的管理来去掌控。他们可能会纠结哪里出了问题，哪里坏了，或者说这个该怪谁，该怪什么，是什么原因导致这个的。就虽然最初的就是结果可能看起来很成功，但这种领导他人和组织的方式终究还是会失败，因为这样的话会在你的生活或者行动中会不断的消耗分解代谢能量。用强制手段或者冲突来取得胜利的话，会影响到你自己和周围的人。
So who here has experienced some level 2 energy? So either witnessed it in other people or has experienced it for themselves. So just either put your hand up or comment yes in the chat box. Now, those of you with toddlers or teenagers in the house are going to be incredibly familiar with this level of energy. I'm putting my hand up too. Yes.
大家自己或者是否有见过别人体验过这一层级的能量呢？如果是的话，请在聊天框中打出 yes。那对于那些家里可能有小孩子的人，可能特别能理解我说的这一层能量。
Thank you. I've got a couple of yeses. So either you've got toddlers or you have absolutely witnessed it yourself or experienced it yourself. Now, the first two levels, level 1 of powerlessness, the victim, and level 2 of conflict and anger, they're associated with catabolic energy. And the more time one spends in these two levels, the more likely you're going to see life as a struggle, find it really difficult to be motivated, and that's going to heighten your chances of burnout. Now, the remaining levels of 3 to 5, they're characterized by anabolic energies. So we'll get to those in a little bit. And I'm also going to pause for questions. So if there's any questions coming up, once IC's done this translation, I'm happy to answer anything for you.
前两个能量层级呢，就与分解代谢能量有关。你在这两个能量上停留的时间越长，那就越有可能把生活当成一种挣扎，你就很难有动力，而且常常也会感到精疲力尽。第3层级到第5层级的能量呢，又与合成代谢能量有关。那在那个介绍第3层到第5层能量之前呢，我留一点时间给大家提问，有什么问题大家可以问。
So you're welcome to speak in Chinese, and IC will very kindly help me understand. Or if you're wanting to go in the chat, Lillian, thank you. Does it mean to skip so that we can spend less time on the first levels, but we have to solve the problem that were hard to solve? Okay, I think your question is saying, does it mean that we can just avoid those levels and skip over them, or spend less time in them? I think what I'm wanting to do is really help people become more aware, so more conscious of what level they're experiencing. Because there are reasons why we might spend time in level 1. And level 2, there are lots of advantages of getting that fighter energy working for you. And that's going to spur you into action and to get you moving forwards. So I'm not saying we skip them. I'm not saying we avoid them because they're useful. I'm saying let's be aware of when we're spending time there and really ask ourselves the question, how is this serving me? So it's about awareness and consciousness.
那我的意思呢，并不是说让大家避免这个能量，而是要让大家充分意识到自己在这个能量层级，在这个能量层级上所处的水平。因为这两个能量层级，它其实对我们也是有好处的。像第二个层级，比如说好斗者能量，它能够就是让我们促使我们快速的去采取行动，然后取得成功。就这两个能量，它呢是有弊，但是也是有利的。我并不是让大家去避免说这样的能量，而是要说让你自己真正意识到自己所处在这个能量，对提高自我意识。
Thank you. I see. Are there any other questions? There will be another moment to ask in a couple of levels' time and also at the end if there's anything burning. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Lillian. You said, yes, sometimes I may just put things away and focus on the positive things. You're going to love this level 3. So that absolutely sort of opens us up to this next level.
那么谢谢那个莉莉安她问的问题，就比如说可能把一些事情放在一边，然后聚焦到积极的一方面。那这个呢，主要是跟第3层级能量有关，就是下面我要说的第3能量层级，大家可以了解到更多。
Thank you, I see. So level 3, as Lillian has very kindly just sort of opened the door for us, we're going to step through into level 3. So this is Mr. or Mrs. It'll be all right on the night. You know, we're going to get it done, or we'll get through this, the rationalizer. Now, level 3 is a really interesting level because it's the gateway into the anabolic energies.
处在第3能量层级的人呢，他往往是那种会想，事情就是会好，这个事情他会好的，我们会搞定的，我们会熬过去的。这类人呢，往往是比较理性的。那这个层级呢，它也是比较有趣的一个层级，因为它是进入合成代谢能量层级的一个敲门砖。
Thank you. And I've just seen Fisher. Would you like me to answer this now, Fisher, or shall we pin it for the next question time?
Yeah, we can build that on. Can build that on.
Sorry, what was the answer to the question?
Yeah, well, we can answer the question afterwards.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah. We'll keep it in the chat then.
Yeah.
So back to level 3. So this level is about coping, finding ways to relieve the problem, the pain, the blockage by covering it up rather than removing it. Now, this allows people to release the negativity and stay focused on the desired outcome and keep things moving forwards.
那第3层级能量的人呢，他在面对问题、痛苦和障碍的时候呢，他往往会去掩盖这些东西，而不是说主动的去消除这些问题。因为这个过程呢，其实也是可以让人释放出消极情绪，然后把注意力放在预期的结果上面，让事情继续向前发展。
Michelle, I see your question. I'll answer both you and Fisher at the end of level 3. So we get through this level and then we'll take a little pause. So level 3 is the person who says, whatever happens, we'll find a way to manage. Not very positive, but also not terribly negative either. Or they can be found to be saying, you know, it's okay, it's fine, we'll be fine. So essentially we have blinkers on. I like to do this to show that we have blinkers on when we are experiencing a lot of the catabolic energies, so level 1, level 2. And when we start to step into the more anabolic energies, we open up our vision. We start to see more options, which is going to build trust in our abilities. And with that comes more self-confidence.
不管发生什么事情呢，这类人呢，他都会说，会有办法的。就他的态度呢，不是特别积极的，但也不是说特别消极的。他们就会说，会想，会好的，一切都会好的。就当我们处在第1层级跟第2层级的时候呢，我们会有就是大量的那个分解代谢能量， 而这类人呢，他往往就是戴着有色眼镜的。而当我们开始拥有更多的合成能量的时候呢，就是我们的视野呢会更开始打开，然后看到更多的选择，会相信自己，变得更加的自信。
At this level, people at level 3, they take responsibility for their thoughts, their feelings, their actions, and they know that what they think and feel is up to themselves and not other people. Now, they're going to be able to motivate themselves and others by finding ways to cope, to forgive, to tolerate, to compromise, and really explain away resentments and stress, disappointments, and these other burdens in order to encourage really cooperation and productivity. So they tend to make the best of the situation, focusing on the positive, finding that silver lining. And the focus here is really on short-term goal achievement.
处在第3层级能量的人呢，这类人会对自己的想法、感受和行动负责，知道自己的想法和感受是取决于自己，而不是他人。那他们呢会去应对、去谅解、容忍、去妥协的方式来处理这些问题。同时呢，他们也会通过一些解释来消除怨恨、压力、失望和其他负担，然后以此呢来鼓励合作，同时呢提高生产力。就这类人他往往比较随遇而安，他会在意事情积极的一面，去寻找那个一线的希望。那么他们呢主要是专注于短期目标的实现。
So this group tends to be quite neutral on change. However, it's not a truly confident leader, the leader at level 3, because his or her main goal is to find the problem or the challenge, rationalize it or fix it so that they can cope or live to a degree that isn't painful. So blocking out that negativity and beginning to get things done. So just in the chat, who else can relate to level 3 energy at times? Just press yes or pop your hand up if I can see you as well.
这类人呢，他们对变化往往持中立的态度，但这往往不是真正自信的领导者，因为他的目标呢，主要就是找到问题或者挑战，将其合理化或者去解决，然后以便能够就是应对，或者只是说处于不那么痛苦的程度，就往往是会阻断消极因素，然后把事情做好。那么大家有谁体验过第3层级的能量？可以在聊天框中打出 yes。
So I'm going to go back to these brilliant questions. So Michelle, you asked, is fear a deeper trigger point to be in level 1 and level 2? And the answer is yes. So what holds you in level 1, level 2 is fear, is attachment, or that need of attachment, and also judgment. There's a lot of judgments that are held when you're in that catabolic energy. You see things as good or bad, right or wrong. They need to be in a certain way, which is going to limit what we're able to do because we only see what's directly in front of us and we forget to see what's all around us. So yes, fear absolutely holds us in those levels.
那么梅舍尔的问题呢是说，恐惧是不是第1层级和第2层级的一个更深层次的一个触发点？那答案呢说是的，答案是是。恐惧确实是就是那个第1层级和第2层级能量的一个触发点，因为恐惧呢它让我们就是执着于一些就是沉迷于恐惧的心理，然后让我们可能脑海里不断的充满了各种的判断，会让我们分散我们的注意力，然后看事情呢或只会觉得说对错或者是非对错这样子，它会限制我们去做自己想要做的事情，也会限制我们看待事情的视野，然后让我们忘记我们周遭所发生的事情。所以答案呢是的。
Catherine makes a brilliant point as well. So you've noticed, Catherine, that the energy levels will change depending on the situation, and that's totally right. So we all have these 7 levels that we can experience at any time. And depending on how we view the situation, whether there's fear involved, whether there's stress involved, will absolutely reflect on which energy level we go to. Now, that doesn't mean that we are one set energy level. And that's what's really exciting. We're not stuck in level 1. We can absolutely, spend some time in level 1 or 2, maybe when our children have triggered us. But then in the office, we spend a lot of time in our level 5, which we haven't yet touched upon. But it can show you that depending on the situation, you can be in different energy levels. So yes, you are right.
那 Catherine 呢也问了一个问题，她就说这个能量层级它是基于环境的变化而变化的，这个是的，她说的是对的，就是我们的能量层级主要是基于我们所处的情境来决定的，就是主要看于我们是如何利用这个事情的情况或者发生，我们可能有时候可以在某个层级可能说会感到恐惧或者压力，我们确实会体会到就是第一层级或者第二层级，比如说我们带孩子的时候，像在办公室里呢，我们也可能会办公室里往往会处在比如第5层级的能量，这个我后面呢也会涉及到一点，主要是确实是我们的那个能量层级主要取决于我们周遭的环境。
Thank you, Icy. So I'm going to go to Fisher's question on how do you evaluate someone who is a low energy state and needs adjustment? So I'm not sure if you've ever tried to adjust anyone. They can be quite resistant and not really wanting it. But I think a great way of assessing is there a lot of resistance? Is it somebody who has low engagement, low motivation? Then they're probably finding something in their lives that is keeping them in those lower levels of energy. So maybe it's the work that they're in that really does not suit their attributes, or maybe there's something going on at home, there's a lot of stress, and that's reflected in how they behave. And so what you're seeing is basically what you're seeing, the behavior and the action. What's very difficult to see is what's going on under the surface. So what are the thoughts, the feelings, the beliefs that person holds that might well be keeping them in that catabolic energy? So I'm not sure if that answers your question enough, Fisher. And if you wanted to elaborate, please do. So I think another thing is that tread carefully. And a great way of treading carefully is to offer up an assessment, because that's a very neutral way of people having a mirror held up to them to show how they are showing up and the effect that it has on themselves in terms of their results, but also on other people. So there is an assessment that's linked to energy leadership, which I'll talk about right at the end. But that's quite a soft way of introducing a conversation if somebody's not showing up at the best of their abilities. And that's a lot for you, Icy. I apologize. I forgot to translate.
那这里的 Fisher 的问题就是，如果我们如何去评价处于低能量层级的人，以及他是否处于低能量层级并且需要调整的人。从我的角度来讲呢，我并不太想去尝试的去评价这样的别人，因为他可能会有就是对抗的心理。但也有一些好方法，就是因为处于低能量层级的人呢，他往往是投入度比较低，然后在工作中也是动力不足。这可能也是因为他比如说在生活的某些方面可能遇到什么事情导致的，他遇到了什么事情，然后影响到他的一些态度、他的行为跟行动。那主要是这个呢，就是主要是他的一些跟他的信念相关，那就是这个就是跟那个我们刚刚说的那个分解代谢能量有关。那还有一个呢，就是我想说的是，我们尽量采取一个比较中立的态度，就是可能不是带着就是有色眼镜去看别人，因为这个主要涉及到我后面会给大家讲一个评估工具，这个工具呢叫做智能领导力那个评估工具，这个我会 后面给大家介绍一下，会更好的就是来回答这个问题，因为它可能也会涉及到一些软技能，可以更好的促进对话，然后去提升我们的能力。
Now, Michelle's asked a follow-up question regarding, so the fear could come from instinct or something against somebody's value structure. And absolutely, the fear could come from anywhere. But what we're trying to do with energy leadership is about opening up that lens. So having that ability to ask yourself, how is fear standing in your way? How is it that you view fear? Is it from a level 1 perspective, saying, oh, why does this always happen to me? Or is it from a level 3 that we've just touched upon, which is how can I cope or tolerate this fear that I'm currently experiencing? Or even better, when we touch level 5 is all about curiosity, becoming curious about the fear, or becoming curious about digging deeper into your value structure and better understanding why is it that triggering the fear. So remember, this is about building awareness. And with awareness, you've got more choices and you're not stuck in a default energy level, let's say, something that you've always been used to doing.
Michelle 呢，他有一个问题，就是恐惧呢，可能源于我们的一个本能，或者是一些就是与个人价值观可能遇到一些可能与个人价值观一些可能相悖的一些事情。那么是的，恐惧呢，它可以来自于它可能是来自于很多的因素，可能就是任何事情可能都会导致一个恐惧心理。那这就需要我们去打开自己的视野，要有一个开放的心态，然后问自己，然后如何去，比如说如何避免这样的恐惧。其实处于不同能量层级的人，他看恐惧呢，他的反应是不一样的。比如说第一层级的人，他可能面对恐惧说为什么这种事情又总是发生在我的身上。然后第3层级的人呢，他可能会变得比较的宽容一些，他会有一种比较宽容接纳的方式，然后来应对这个恐惧。那第5层级的人呢，他则是会有好奇心，他会对恐惧产生很大的好奇心，然后他会去理解到底是什么引发了恐惧。这呢也是一个自我意识提升的过程，就是你意识到自己可以有更多的选择，而不是一直让自己沉溺在恐惧这样的消极的能量里面。
Thank you. So I would suggest that we get into level 4 and then there'll be time again for more questions. But thank you so far for the questions that you've asked. They've been great. So up until now, when we've experienced these first 3 levels of level 1, level 2, level 3, we're very much in struggle mode. So finding life hard. But level 4 is all about compassion and care and focus on others.
前面呢，我们已经了解了就是前三个能量层级，接下来呢，让我们来看这个第4层级。那第4层级呢，第4层级的人呢，往往是处于一种挣扎的状态，会觉得生活特别的艰难。那第4层级的人则是前3个层级的人会觉得是比较处于挣扎，然后觉得生活艰难，而第4层级的人呢，他们往往是会体现到会对他人表示关心和同情，也是会乐于助人的人。
Level 4 is the how can I help you person, the Mr. or Mrs. I'll take that on for you, also known as sort of the helper, the fixer, the caregiver.
第4层级的能量的人呢，他们经常可能会这样一种想法，就是我如何能够帮助他人，我来帮你。这类人会被称作是助人者，他也是解决问题的人，他也是会照顾他人的人。
So if we think of the lower levels, all the focus has been on ourselves. What's in it for me? How can I get what I want? Level 4 is really that first time that we step outside of thinking about ourselves and we start to think about others. So it's the level of service.
当你的能量呢在处于低层级的时候呢，你的焦点是在自己的身上，比如说这个它对我有什么好处，我怎样才能拿到自己想要的。但来到第4层级的时候呢，你的焦点就不是说只在自己身上了。这一层的时候呢，你开始为别人着想。那这一层级呢，也是叫做服务层级。
And level 4 is essentially the glue in organizations. So it's the people who think of others really above themselves. So they are people who work hard to make everyone else's life easier. Now, people experiencing level 4, they tend to be great problem solvers. And when decisions are to be made, they consider the implication on others before taking action.
第4层能量层级的人呢，他在组织里往往充当的是一种粘合剂的角色，他们把自己看得比别人重要，所以他们工作呢也非常的努力，然后想让其他的人呢更轻松。那处于这一能量层级的人呢，就是往往能很好的解决问题，在需要做决定的时候呢，他们会在行动之前会想想这件事情它是否对别人有什么影响。
Leaders with level 4 energy have a great deal of compassion, so compassion for their colleagues, and they are inspired and inspire others around them to really serve others. So they often foster collaboration, teamwork, loyalty. Now, this high level of energy is going to lead to success by creating winning solutions for others involved. So who can relate or who can identify those people in your organization who have a tendency for level 4 energy? So the helpers, the fixers in your team, those that are always of service to others. Just pop in the chat if you can. Either it's you experience a lot of level 4 energy, or you can absolutely pinpoint that person.
处于第4能量层级的领导者呢，会对同事往往会抱有很大的关心和同情，那他会激励和鼓舞周围的人，就是为他人服务。他们经常能够就是促成合作，然后凝固团队精神跟员工的忠诚度。这种能量呢是一种比较高层级的，它可以为他人带来成功的解决方案，然后以此呢在整个团体内获得成功。那大家有谁体验过这一层级，或者说在你的组织内发现有谁就是也处于过这样一个能量层级，就是你们团队中哪些人是就是会帮助别人或会解决问题，那有的话可以在聊天框中打出 yes。
Great, thank you for the support. Everyone's saying yes, yes, yes. Either you absolutely can identify the people around you who experience this level, or it really sort of it resonates within you. So some of the downsides of being of constant service to others is that you give, and suddenly you've got nothing left and you're burnt out or exhausted, and you find yourselves in level 1, really feeling at the effect of life, or level 2, being a little bit resentful for overhelping.
那我们这样就是持续的为他人提供帮助，是不是也会带来一些坏处呢？是，当你不断的付出，然后突然间好像一无所有，就这个时候呢，你会觉得精疲力尽，就发现自己好像突然倒在了第一层，然后任由生活摆布，或者说倒在了第二层，然后充满了对于好像过度的帮助别人，然后充满了一些怨恨、一些怨念。大家是否也有这种感受？
Level 5, this is my favorite level. So level 5 can be thought of as Mr. or Mrs. Curiosity, Mr. or Mrs. Gosh, this is exciting, Mr. Solution, or the opportunist.
现在来到第5层级，那第5的层级的人一般会被称为好奇心先生，然后他们会说哦天哪，这太让人兴奋了，或他们也会被称为是解决方案先生，或者是 机会的发现者。
So level 5 are the opportunity seekers and solution finders. So really the Richard Bransons of the world. I've got this idea of an airline. I don't quite know how to do this all myself because I don't have the knowledge, but how could I pull people together, a group of people or group of companies where together we have that knowledge?
那第5层级的人呢，他是机会的寻求者和解决方案的发现者，他们也是就理查德·布兰森们。我有创立一家航空公司的想法，但是我自己做不到，因为我没有这方面的知识。但是我怎么可以把一群人聚集起来，大家就是用那个集体的智慧来群策群力，如何能做到呢？
This is the energy really found in the greatest leaders in all walks of life, seeing other people as gifted and full of potential. Now, nothing is judged as good or bad at this level, and every situation is viewed as an opportunity to learn something that can help you adjust course and move forwards. And that's going to breed curiosity and a willingness to experiment.
这种能量呢，就是我们可以在各行各业的伟大的领导者他们身上发现，因为他们能够看到别人的天赋，看到别人是充满潜力的。就在这个层级上呢，他就是没有好坏之分，就遇到任何情况的时候都会把它视为一种学习的机会，然后可以帮助你去调整方向，然后向前迈进。同时呢，也会引起人的好奇心以及尝试的意愿。
You might hear people saying things like, where can we go from here? What's the opportunity? What's going well here? What does this all mean? Might there be another way of seeing this? So level 5 leaders or leaders with this level 5 energy, they're normally self-assured, calm, purposeful, entrepreneurial minded, confident, and they feel this sense of inner peace and fulfillment.
你可能会听到这些人他们说，这个我们能从这里然后去到哪里，还有机会有哪些机会，还有现在呢也取得了什么进展，然后这呢意味着什么，那我们是否可以换一种方式来看待这个问题。因为处于第5能量层级的领导者，他们往往就是比较自信冷静，然后目标明确，有创业精神，他们的内心呢又是平和的而且充实的。
They're really skilled at capitalizing on where opportunities present themselves. So always on the lookout for collaborative solutions. So think of Richard Branson, really looking at how to make it a win-win for everyone involved. They're in control of their lives with the belief that they can do and choose their life experiences. Now, at this level, people are accepting of uncertainties instead of focusing on changing them.
他们善于利用机会，积极的去寻找合作方案。就想想，比如理查德·布兰森，因为他会真真实实的考虑到如何让这个群体中的每一个人都受益。就他们能够掌控自己的生活，相信自己确实能够选择自己的生活经历。因为在这个能量层级上的人，他们对不确定性往往是抱着一种接纳的态度，而不是执着的去想着去改变什么。
So here's a question. What might be some of the benefits of increasing your level 5 energy, especially when it comes to facing change and uncertainty?
那这里有一个问题给大家思考，就当你面对变化跟不确定性的时候，就提高你第5层级的能量呢，会有带来什么好处？
I'll give you a second.
给大家一点时间。
So what do you think might happen to fear? So if you've got that opportunity mindset, Would you be so held back by fear? Would you be so attached to a particular outcome? Or would you find just the journey in getting somewhere exciting enough?
你是否就是能够看到机遇，而不是说被那个恐惧所扰？你没有说执着的去说要事情结果怎么样，而是发现这个旅程是非常的激动人心的。
Lillian, thank you. You live in peace and fruitfulness. Absolutely, you're more at peace. You're less wanting to control everything. You are part of it. And it's a very, very different energy. Michelle, seeing futures, bringing others with you to move on. How beautifully put. Absolutely, yes.
就像 Catherine 说的，就是更加的专注，然后给团队以信心。是的，因为这样的话确实是可以让我们更加的平和，然后少一点那种掌控的欲望，就让我们可以深度的参与其中。Michelle 也是说的，就是可以看到未来，然后也是让别人跟自己一起的去向前。
Yeah, so there's an element of acceptance, Catherine, that you've just mentioned in the chat. Absolutely. So you accept reality is the first step, and then you can work on solutions and co-creativity. Absolutely. Because you're not set on things being a particular way. Remember, we're talking about opening up our lens. Level 5, you really absolutely see things as an opportunity, and you accept them for what they are, rather than wanting to change them or mold them to what suits you better.
那确实是像 Catherine 说的，那个接受现实是第一步，然后你可以跟他人一起拥有靠大家共同的创造力来解决问题。确实是因为处于第五能量层级呢，可以让你更多的打开视野，就把任何事情呢都看成一种机遇，然后会去更接纳它事情是什么样子，会去接纳一些不确定性，而不会执着的去想着一定要去改变什么。
So I see, just keeping an eye on the time, I think I'm going to I'll open up the questions at the end. So if you don't mind letting people know, we'll do questions at the end.
好的，因为那个时间原因，大家如果有问题的话，我们可以在那个最后再提问。
I'm just stopping the slideshow for the time being. So the trick to facing uncertainty isn't to reach the top level of energy or to master all the energy levels. It's to master your ability to shift your energy and the energy of those around you so that you can access the confidence that you need really to believe in your own ability to be able to handle whatever life throws at you.
在你面对不确定性的时候，那应对方式呢，并不是说让你的能量一定达到一个最高的层级，或者说是掌控所有的能量，并不是的，而是能够将你和周围的人的能量进行转换，那这样呢，更自信的去应对生活可能抛给你的所有事情。
The way one typically thinks, feels, and acts is not based on one or even two of these energy levels, but your entire and very unique profile or energy makeup, as it's called. Now, each level has its distinct advantages and disadvantages.
就一个人思考、感受和行动的方式呢，并不是取决于你一两个能量，而是基于你自己整个独特的能量构成，它是一个整体。那每个能量层级它有优势，但也有劣势。
Shifting energy really starts with awareness. So awareness of yourself and becoming more aware of your attitudes, your perceptions, your beliefs that you hold about yourself and also the world around you. Now, that isn't just to do with what you think about yourself, but it's also to do with what you subconsciously think about yourself.
要转换能量，首先第一步就是要提高自我意识，要提升你对自己和对周围世界的 那个态度、感知和信念。对，这不仅与你对自己的看法有关，它同时还与你潜意识里对自己的看法有关。
Recognizing where you lie on this energy leadership framework can be quite challenging, and people frequently find it easier to discuss what can be a sensitive issue with an outsider. And that is essentially my day job. So I find it fascinating and really exciting. And at the heart of the work that I do is an assessment tool that's called the Energy Leadership Index Assessment, which incidentally has been rated by Forbes as one of the top 10 assessment tools.
让我们识别到自己在智能领导力框架中所处的位置，是一件非常有挑战的事情。因为大家经常会发现，可能跟局外人、旁人讨论一些敏感的问题更容易一些。所以呢，这就是我的日常工作，因为我觉得它充满了热趣，会让我干得很兴奋。那我工作当中呢，会用到一个非常核心的一个评估工具，就我刚刚有提到过的，叫做智能领导力指数评估工具。那这个工具呢，它也是被福布斯评为10大评估工具之一。
And as individuals, we view the world through filters based on our experiences, our values, our assumptions. And those filters are either going to limit what we see, like tunnel vision, or expand what we see, like a prism. And that's going to impact how we perceive and what we think about our different circumstances. And this in turn impacts how we show up in different situations.
那么我们每个人作为个体呢，当我们就是看待这个世界的时候，我们都会基于自己的经验、价值或者假设。那这些东西呢，就相当于可以比作一个过滤器。那这些过滤器呢，它会限制我们看到的东西，就好像我们可能形成了一个隧道的视野。那同时呢，它也会像冷镜一样放大我们看到的东西。那这样呢，反过来也会影响我们去感知和思考我们所处的环境，又会影响就是我们在面对不同情况的时候呢，会影响到我们的表现。
Throughout our whole lives, we've unconsciously developed filters, which may be holding us back from seeing our full potential of ourselves and what life and our career has to offer.
我们在我们的人生当中呢，我们是在无意识的情况下，然后形成了这些过滤器，它们呢可能会妨碍到我们发现自己的全部潜力，然后也不能让我们在生活和事业上能够尽可能的取得成功。
The Energy Leadership Index Assessment is an attitudinal assessment, so it's not a personality-based one. And the big difference being that attitude is changeable. And it really gauges how a person approaches or reacts to different circumstances and experiences. So it's a bit like having an X-ray of your brain or holding up a mirror to really uncover these attitudes, these perceptions, these behaviors. And it reveals what specific filters you've developed and how those filters are influencing the results that you're achieving. And that in turn is able to help management awareness, effectiveness, and corporate cohesion.
智能领导力指数评估工具，它是一种态度评估工具，它是基于态度的，而不是基于个性的一种评估。特点呢，主要是在于它态度是可以改变的。因为这个工具，它衡量的是一个人如何在不同的环境和经历的情况下是如何做出不同的反应的。就有点像那个大脑那个做 X 光，或者说是像拿起一面镜子，然后来照出你的态度、感知和行为。它会揭示你到底形成了哪些过滤器，以及这些过滤器呢又是如何影响你所取得的成果的。那这个最终呢，它也会帮助我们培养一种管理意识，提升效率，同时呢也可以加强企业凝聚力。
So do get in touch if you'd like to learn more about this particular assessment. Now, better understanding supports and breeds confidence. and confidence breeds resilience.
如果大家想了解更多关于这个评估工具的信息呢，可以联系我。就当你拥有就是更好的理解的时候呢，也可以支持，可以培育信心，而信心呢，它又能培育复原力、韧性。
So consider these 7 levels really as this tool of reference to encourage you to think about who you are and how you could act to be able to see more possibilities, more choices. Because with increased awareness, you'll be able to see that there's more than one way to react or approach a situation. And this in turn can provide you with a sense of freedom and help you view change through this lens of curiosity. That's your level 5, rather than a burden, which is your level 1.
我们可以把这7个能量层级呢当做一个参考工具，然后鼓励自己去思考，就是你是谁，你可以如何行动，然后来让自己看到更多的可能性，拥有更多的选择。就是随着你这种意识的增强呢，你会发现可以有不止一种方式来应对或者处理某种事件或者情况，也会让你感觉到更多的自由，会让你像第5层级一样带着好奇心去看待变化，而不是像处在第1层级一样把变化当成一种负担。
So get used to asking yourself, what is another way to see the situation? Or how can I see it from a level 4 perspective, a level 5 perspective? And which of these levels might better serve me in achieving my desired results?
大家呢其实可以经常就习惯性的去问自己，比如说这件事我能否换一个角度来看这个情况，比如说在某个能量层级下，比如说在第4层级或者第5层级的时候，我又会如何看这种情况。那在这些层级当中呢，哪个层级它能够更好的帮助我去实现我的预期目标。
After all, the only constant is change. So the secret to navigating change is really recognize how your energy is changing and which lens or which energy level you're currently operating from.
那毕竟我们生活中唯一不变的就是变化，那掌控变化的秘诀是什么呢？那这秘诀就是首先你要认识到自己的能量是如何变化的，以及你目前是处在哪个视角，哪个能量层级。
If this is something that you're interested in learning more about, or think that I might be able to help you, or you want to learn more about the work that I do with energy leadership or take the assessment, then I'd be absolutely delighted to hear from you to discuss it further. I've also put together a handy resource guide with more information about the different energy levels in terms of what we've covered today, so that you can really practice and recognizing the energy levels in yourself, also in other people. So if you want a copy of that, just drop me an email. I'll also send one to you, Fisher, so that you can also filter it out to people. And I'll leave my contact details also at the end of the slide, right at the end of the presentation.
那我还整理了一份就是资源指南，这个指南里面呢有更多关于这个能量层级的信息。那这样呢，你可以帮助你练习去判断自己跟他人所处的能量层级。如果你想要的话，可以给我发邮件。那我会在最后一个就是这张幻灯片上留下我的联系方式，大家可以看一下。就是大家如果想了解更多，然后觉得我可以帮到你，或者你想了解更多我在这个智能领导力方面所做的工作，或者想了解我刚才提到的评估工具，都可以就是欢迎联系，我们可以继续讨论。
Now, as we're coming slowly to a close, and I'm mindful of your time as well, and with everything that you've learned about energy leadership today, I've got a final question for you. Which level of energy are you wanting to spend more time in now? If you don't mind just popping that in the chat box. So which level of energy would you like to start spending a bit more time in now?
那今天的我们的讲座呢，可能现在呢接近尾声了。那现在我有问题要抛给你们，就是根据你们今天所学到的，我想问你们最后一个问题，就是你想花更多时间在哪一个能量层级上？大家在聊天框中打出来。
So there's lots of level 5s coming up, and absolutely there's so many benefits to level 5. So it would make total sense that we all want to step a little bit more into that solution finding, opportunity thinking. And Sunshine is saying, get motivated and take actions to gain better results. Yeah, spot on. Absolutely.
是的，大家都选了第5能量层级，确实是第5能量层级有非常多的好处。它也可以帮助我们更好的去寻找解决方案，去发现机会。因为桑莎他也说的非常好，就是让我们更有动力，然后采取行动去获得更好的结果。
So thank you really very much, everyone, for listening, for your attention, for your brilliant questions, for the interaction in the chat, for those of you who could chat. And really a very special thank you to Fisher Yu for the invitation, and also for Icy Chu for all her support and brilliant translations. And I'd love to wish you all a very happy Chinese New Year as well. And if you've got any further questions, then I'm here for you. I'm happy to answer them now. But really a very big thank you from me to all of you.
非常感谢大家能够今天来听我的讲座，然后包括大家积极的提问和我互动，也非常感谢 Fisher 的邀请，让我来做这样一场讲座。那提前呢也祝大家中国春节新年快乐。那最后呢，我也非常乐意的回答大家的问题，大家可以提问。
And yeah. Catherine, I see you've got your hand up and you had a brilliant question. So in terms of applying for family relationships, how do we, when surrounded with low levels of relatives? So I think your question is saying that when we're surrounded with people who are experiencing a lot of that catabolic energy, how can we still stay up? And you hit a very, very important point that energy is contagious, meaning that if you are with people who are very catabolic, so they experience a lot of that level 1, lethargy, apathy, oh, woe is me. It's amazing how that drags you down to their level. You suddenly find there's an expression called an energy vampire. So it sort of sucks it out of you. And let's acknowledge it's really hard when everyone around is experiencing a lot of catabolic energy to be experiencing a lot of level 5, a lot of level 6, because there's so much around you. So I think occasionally a good place to settle to start with is finding a bit of level 3. Finding ways to cope, to tolerate, to silver lining. That would be step 1. Then step 2 is to see how can you see it from their perspective. So that's stepping into your level 4. So being of service. What could be going on for them to be experiencing so much of this catabolic level? And then challenging yourself and saying, what could be the opportunity here? What can I learn about myself or about this situation that could help me grow? So that's the level 5. Now, these aren't easy things. I'm saying it like, oh, yeah, just step onto this ladder. But the reality is that you are aware that it's affecting you, and that we need to celebrate. And now you are at choice. Do you want to for it to continue affecting you? And if so, what does that mean? Or what might be some other options for you? And how can you start stepping into those other options? Does that help? I see a nod. Yes, it's not an easy situation at all.
Yes. Yes, actually, I agree with what you said, because recently a lot of family things, so a lot of people with low levels of energy surround me. I had a strong self-awareness. So I said, I start to do something, set boundaries. Boundaries in China is seldom have boundaries between family members, especially people people are your parents. It's hard sometimes.
Very hard.
So it's really, really challenging for me because of teacher Fish knows I just came back from US to China just due to my mom. And a lot of things, the past 3 months, very, very crazy. But actually, I took some actions as what you suggested. So, first, set boundaries, and second, maybe leave myself some time and some space for reflections every day. Maybe, sometimes in applying for your job is easy. Actually, when I'm doing my job, I'm always in level 5. It's fine, but the family relationship sometimes, especially in China, is really, really very challenging. But I'm fixing it much better now. But I really, really appreciate it. I think this course is really, really helpful for me because I found when you show me the chart about 5 levels, I suddenly realized why this is like this. So different family members, maybe I split them into different levels. Yeah.
Yes, and remember, like for you were saying, I'm just going to put that back on the what you were mentioning, Catherine, is that at work, you're turning up with your level 5. That's who you truly are. And yet there is a situation at home which is clearly stressful, which is clearly affecting you, where you're not able to shine as bright. So that just goes to show that this energy leadership, it's not about personality, it's about attitude, and it's about how we view the situation. So that there's generally, when we view things as hard or difficult, it can be around a little bit about judgment, seeing things as good or bad, or wanting things a particular way and only accepting them that way. Element of fear, as you say, it's very difficult to set boundaries with our parents. And I would say irrelevant of the nationality. Let's say it's worldwide. And also this element of attachment. And all of those are going to sort of, in a way, affect how we show up in situations which are predominantly catabolic.
Yeah. Thank you. This sharing is very, very helpful for me. I suddenly realized that I need to maybe more wisdom. In a more effective way. Because it's a daily dealing with parents for maybe need to about half a year. And also my mom was ill. She just had an operation. So whole levels of energy and also needs of mine and a lot of things that were all come in Beijing for Spring Festival. So a lot of things, a lot of people come here. So give me high pressure actually. Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you so much. This webinar is very, very helpful and useful. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for sharing your question, because many of us can relate at different points of our life to what you've explained. So thank you for being vulnerable and showing something really very intimate about what's going on for you. But I hear you. I've been there at certain points of my life as well. Schofield, sorry, you've been waiting patiently with your hand up. How can I help?
Hi, how are you doing, Kat? So actually, I guess all of us are quite impressive by this energy level theory, right? So I guess based on this theory, I just got 2 following questions. So for the first one, I just want to know if a person was allocated at the level 4, for instance, so whenever he or she encountered a hurdle or issues in their work or life, so I just want to know if they're gonna been through or go through all the process from level 1 to level 4, or they can just instantly jump into level 4 or level 5.
Brilliant question. Thank you so much for asking that. So you don't have to slowly go up the ladder. So you can absolutely go from level 1, where you're lying on the sofa thinking, oh, this is just awful, why does this always happen to me, to suddenly going to level 3. So you've jumped level 2 and you go into, well, this happens to me because I see it in this particular way. So let's try and see it from another way. and you've bounced out. What I love is level 2. And I'll explain to you why, because a lot of people are quite scared of conflict and anger. But remember that level 2 is also the fighter energy. So when things annoy you enough, they can absolutely shoot you into action. So you are able to go from a level 2 to a level 5, getting so frustrated with yourself or with the situation that you can't handle it anymore. And instead of going, well, how can I cope? How can I
那个 Charlotte 她的回答呢，主要是就是说，因为就是我们就是可能每个人都会遇到这种情况，因为这里有一个问题，就是说情绪啊，我们的能量它是可以传染的，就是当你遇到很多处于比如说低能量层级的人，就是他们这些人往往就是说会比较冷漠啊，或者是无精打采啊，这些人可能经常会说啊，为什么这件事又是我？就当你周围都是这些低能量层级的人的时候，你很难去停留在第5层级或者第6层级，因为这里呢，就像他们就好像是 energy vampire， 就好像是能量的吸血鬼。面对这个时候呢，可能有几种方法，大概有3种。那第一种方法就是我们可以暂时去到第3层级，就是以一种可能比较谅解宽容的心态，然后去想一想是否可以应对，是否有一些希望。然后在然后接着呢，就是第二个就是可以去到第4层级，去想一想这些人的处于什么情况，然后我们可以为他们做什么，就是服务层级。然后在第3个呢，就是说因为这些问题对我们来说也是一种挑战，那我们是否可以把它看成一种机会，就是说从这个遇到这种情况我能学到什么，然后来帮助我成长。我知道这样其实面对这种情况来处理的话确实不容易，因为你的这个意识呢，它也会就是影响到我们这个选择，你会想它会怎样的影响你啊，或者说但你会从这个机会的角度来想，就是说它可以我们还是不是可以有其他的选择，然后你可以去又怎么去做一些这些，如果是尝试着用其他的方法然后来去解决一下这些问题。这个是他刚刚那个 Charlotte 刚刚大概回答的关于那个家庭问题的，因为这个问题我们就是不只是那个中国，他也提到就是我们这个其实是一个世界性的话题。
Okay, Charlotte, one more thing. I just want to ask you.
I had to finish with Schofield as well, Fisher. He had 2 questions and I was partway through question 1.
Okay, good.
Yeah, thank you, Charlotte, for your time. For my second question is that I remember you mentioned the energy level from level 3 to level 5 are all from the anabolic energy, right? So, and you also mentioned that from these levels, it got its own pros and cons. So I'm not sure why the energy level from 3 to 5 has its own cons or pros, because I think that's all positive, right? So I just want to know what's the disadvantages of these 3 levels. Thanks.
Brilliant question. See, this training could go on for 3 hours. So there are disadvantages to every level, even level 7. And the reason being is that occasionally, so let's say the disadvantages of level 4 is you can occasionally give so much to others, and without proper boundaries in place, then you end up, all your energy is gone. And you can either be lethargic and apathetic, so you're sitting in level 1, or you can be disappointed, frustrated, resentful. That's your level 4. So if you're not careful, you can easily shift out of the energy levels. Some disadvantages of level 5 is, remember, level 5 is about opportunity. But what happens if you see so many opportunities everywhere? How do you know which one to choose? So one of the disadvantages is that you can get something called analysis by paralysis. So there's so much out there, you don't know where to start. And then suddenly you feel stuck and overwhelmed. And you've gone from your level 5 space to level 1. It's all just too much. And as you go up, what happens is you end up starting to pull slightly more away from, I don't want to say reality, but level 6 is all about connection and synthesis. But it means also that you're not totally in tuned or grounded with everyone else around you. So one of the disadvantages are that it can be quite difficult for people to understand where you're coming from. And that's even more so in level 7, because level 7, which I know we didn't touch upon, nothing's really real. Everything is. And it's sort of, how would you say, it's about non-judgment, passion, and wisdom. But with that, occasionally, it can also come this lack of connection. You might well be seen as Elon Musk, slightly sort of flying with these wonderful ideas about Mars and space, but other people can't connect with you anymore because you're just not totally grounded. So that's why there are advantages and disadvantages for each. And also some of the reasons why we've got the other 6 levels below level 7 is you need things that ground you. And that's all part of the human experience as well, that we do need to experience in level 1. We do experience level 2. And I think very few of us are superhuman who only live in level 6 and level 7. We all experience stress. And that generally brings us into catabolic energy. Even if it's for a fraction of a second, we still go, oh, why is this happening? You're level 1. And then, oh, what's the opportunity? You're back in level 5. So it's all about becoming aware of how long you spend in certain energy levels, especially the catabolic energies, and questioning yourself, am I choosing to be here because it's serving me? Or am I here because I've always done it? And this is just my default. Remember, it's about opening this awareness. So we don't do things blindly anymore. We do things and we're aware of why we're doing them, how it helps, and what might be another way.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Great.
Thank you for your time.
Good question. Fisher, back to you. Sorry to take it over.
Thank you. Thank you, Charlotte. Okay. So just one question regarding this Catherine's case just now. And since she was described the situation she had at home with her family relatives and so on. So in that level, it seems my perception is it seems she started from level 1 and then jumped to level 3. Is that something right?
Occasionally, level 3 is a brilliant level because it can absolutely just get you out of that catabolic heaviness. And it might well be that's all you can do because it's so heavy around you that actually being able to get yourself out of level 1, out of level 2, and into level 3, where you're finding ways to tolerate, to cope, to rationalize the situation, it just enables you to live to a degree that's a little less painful or frustrating that you would experience in the lower levels. So it can be a brilliant, just asking yourself, how can I tolerate what's currently going on? We can't always control what's going on, but we can question ourselves. What within me is in my control? And how can I find a way to navigate the situation, to cope, to tolerate? And then self-compassion. It might well be we can't arrive at level 5. And level 3 is just our little bit of escape, that little bit of peace before we build some more energy levels up and be able to experience some level 4, level 5. But level 3 might well be the best place we can be at that point.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for that. I see one to do the translation. 你打开一下，这是。
刚才 Fisher 他的问题是，就是针对之前 Catherine 提到的那个家庭问题，然后 他问了是不是说，如果当那个遇到这些问题，你处在第一能量层级的时候，是否可以跳到第3层级？这种是不是个方法？是的，因为第3层级它是你就摆脱那个分解代谢能量的，就是分解能量的第一个方法。因为它也是那个合成能量层级的一个就是敲门砖，我可以去到第3层级，然后暂时以一种比较宽容的心态，然后去应对这个事情，让这个事情它合理化，让自己减轻一些痛苦，然后可以抱一种比较同情的心态，然后去过渡，这是一个过渡阶段。从第3层级你可以过渡到更高的层级。